Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in preseason week 1 versus the Cincinnati Bengals, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had 136 total rushing yards on 32 attempts. That was good for 4.3 yards per carry. They also had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Shout out Ramon Jefferson, shout out Bucky Irving. If this was a regular season game last season, that would have been the second most rushing yards the Bucs would have had the previous year. The number 1 game in rushing yards last season, whenever Dave Canales was offensive coordinator, was 148 rushing yards against the Atlanta Falcons. Number 2 was against the Carolina Panthers with 128. Have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finally unlocked how to run the football? I think it is a legitimate question to ask. And I'm going to say this, big grain of salt with these numbers, with this result, right? Because not only did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run the football very well in this game, they just played very good offense. They had 390 yards of total offense against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I say take it with a gigantic grain of salt because it was all backups. There were no starters playing in this game. However, one of the main people who you could say is responsible for why this offense did so well and is going to be an influence in regular season games is offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. You don't have a backup offensive coordinator. He was still your offensive coordinator in this preseason game, and he called one heck of a game, in my opinion. I think the Buccaneers ran very well. The offensive line pushed strong, and just all accounts, the offense was fluid, it was efficient, and it was, in my opinion, an enjoyable time watching this offense work the way it was able to work. And last year, look, you did have situations where the Bucs, hey, were still able to run the football in some capacity. They had 1,509 total rushing yards in that 2023 season. That was compared to the 1,308 rushing yards in 2022. So they increased it by a couple hundred yards, right? From 2022 to 2023. I think that there is reason to speculate that that number can continue to increase going forward, and we can see this run game continue to evolve, continue to grow under Liam Cohen. Now, this isn't to say that Dave Canales was a bad offensive coordinator, but it seems like whatever, at least in the very obvious early returns in a preseason game where there's all backups, this team is showing different ability in running the football. Inside runs are working yet again. The running backs are finding the holes better and not hesitating whenever they get the footballs in their hands. Todd Bowles had actually said something along those lines after preseason week 1, that running backs aren't running with hesitation anymore. The offensive line seems to be getting a bit of a better push. Is Graham Barton going to play a big factor into that? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But it seems like guys are getting more comfortable. And whenever I sit here and I think about the entirety of this team, we saw them run well without the starters in. Besides the interior guys, Ben Bredeson was out there for a little bit. Robert Hainsey and Graham Barton were rotating in at center. You had Cody Mock out there for a little bit at right guard. Whenever you do get all of those starters out there, whenever Rachaad White is out there at running back, whenever Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke are out there at left and right tackle respectively, whenever Ben Bredeson, Graham Barton, or Robert Hainsey, whatever's going on there, it's going to be Graham Barton, and Cody Mock are all out there on the interior offensive line, how's that run game going to look? Well, it's encouraging to see your backups run well, because one would at least assume that your starters can play better than your backups. Now, yes, it is backups going up against backups, but I believe that scheme matters. I believe that how guys are taught certainly matters. Again, not to say that Dave Canales was a bad offensive teacher and that whoever was in charge of the running game last year, I think it was Harold Goodwin actually, he was the run game coordinator, wasn't necessarily a bad teacher, but just saying, some changes to the coaching staff have been made and the early results are pretty enjoyable. So I'm very curious to see how the starters are going to look, as I am very pleasantly surprised by how the backups looked. And this is something that I think would be so beneficial, as we've all been talking about for years, right? To the Bucs offense. I feel like it would be incredibly beneficial to the Bucs to have a good run game. Look, this is something that Todd Bowles has been begging for since he became the head coach of this football team. He would beg Byron Leftwich to the point, folks, where it was being reported that he would have a literal run count. He wanted a certain amount of runs per game from Byron Leftwich. You know, that's because Byron Leftwich would just refuse to run the football. Dave Canales came in, they ran the football a little bit more, they got a little bit better results. Now you're getting a guy in Liam Cohen, a West Coast guy, coming out of Kentucky where they did well in terms of their overall offense, especially in ways of running the football. And he also comes from the LA Rams, who are very efficient in terms of their overall play style of running the football and just showcasing what they can do. Let me tell you this, the Kentucky offense, I just looked it up, 127.8 rushing yards per game, folks, per game. You had a 1,000-yard rusher last year for Kentucky and 14 rushing touchdowns whenever Liam Cohen was the head coach over there, the main offensive play caller, whenever Liam Cohen was there. So, I mean, you're looking at a situation where, you know, you got to feel good, right? You got to feel good about what's going on here with the Bucs rushing attack, with what they have been able to do, where Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Kentucky. Mark Stoops was the head coach. But, you know, again, main offensive play caller at Kentucky. They had 127.8 rushing yards per game. That's encouraging, man. If the Buccaneers had a game like that, where they're averaging 200-something passing yards per game on offense, like what Kentucky did in 2023, 127.8 rushing yards per game, again, for Kentucky in 2023, that's exactly what Todd Bowles wants, man. And I'm curious to see if we're going to get that. If we're going to get that version of a Liam Cohen offense like we saw in Kentucky, which we would have seen more with the LA Rams, but Sean McVay was the main offensive play caller over there. Liam Cohen was really working with a bare cupboard over there his one season due to all the injuries that had happened in 2022, I believe, when Cohen was over there. So, I mean, man, it's encouraging at the end of the day. It is encouraging. I'm going to be very interested to see how Liam Cohen continues to grow and evolve this offense. I hope it continues. I could be making a video next week and going, but that was fun, but the dream is past. I hope that's not the case. I hope we find more balance. I feel like it's so important because ideally Todd Bowles' version of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to be some play action, a lot of play action thrown in there, grinding out the game with a running attack and playing solid, sound defense, which is pretty similar to what we saw in that preseason week 1. So I'm pleasantly surprised, I'm pleasantly intrigued, and I shout out Liam Cohen, basically. I want to see this run game continue to evolve and grow, and maybe the interior line being more comfortable, Cody Mott going into year number 2, Graham Barton being maybe an upgraded center over Robert Hainsey, getting a new left guard in there, and Ben Bredesen, who started every game last year rather than a rotational cast of fringe starter type guys like Matt Filer, Aaron Stinney, and Nick Leverett. No discredit to those guys, by the way, but maybe this was what was needed, right? And having running backs who are a bit more comfortable, Sean Tucker going to year number 2, Bucky Irving, maybe just being a bit of a more confident running back. Maybe that's what this running attack needed. I'm going to be very excited and very interested to see this running attack going forward throughout the preseason, and hopefully showing some good ability starting off in the regular season as well. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. What do you think about the running attack? Do you think it's going to be able to improve here with Liam Cohen? Do you think that it's a wait and see type of situation, or are you kind of pumping the brakes saying, whoa, it's preseason, who cares? I think the running game's still going to stink. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.